Dhamma Shriye Soha, O Namo Manjo Shriye, Nama So Shriye, Nama O Dhamma Shriye Soha. Chidang Zuki Chonang Lai, Jiangzhou Bando Nandi Gyaltsen Dagi Chunyen Gibe Tonangi, Gola Benje Sangye Zhuba Zhu. Chidang Zuki Chonang Lai, Jiangzhou Bando Nandi Gyaltsen Dagi Chunyen Gibe Tonangi, Gola Benje Sangye Zhuba Zhu. Chidang Zuki Chonang Lai, Jiangzhou Bando Nandi Gyaltsen Dagi Chunyen Gibe Tonangi, Gola Benje Sangye Zhuba Zhu. Peki Joshe Mendo Zhang, Rira Lingxi Nide Genpa Di, Sangye Shindo Mide Waye, Jogun Nanda Shenla Tuba Zhu. Dang Guru Rana Mendala Kandiya Daya Mi.
Mama, you got teacher in worship of the one that Lando the name of the did you choose for the check
All sentient beings have been our mothers. All sentient beings have been our mothers for numberless times. They are as kind as the mothers of this life. Even though all mother sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering, however, due to not knowing the object of abandonment and adoptions, they only create a karma that bring forth the result of suffering only. In our mind, sincerely cultivate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings, that how nice if all kind mother sentient beings had happiness. May all kind mother sentient beings have happiness. I will cause all kind mother sentient beings to have happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디 이제서 동아지네 신기티다 통 이제 고 성기 문기비 총 타다가 되는 정말 저와 주지 타다가 되다 지금 만나는 신기다
Next, we cultivate compassion toward all suffering mother sentient beings. That how nice if 3 doses of all suffering mother sentient beings were free of all adversities. May 3 doses of all suffering mother sentient beings be free of all adversities. I will cause 3 doses of all suffering mother sentient beings to be free of all adversities. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디 이제서 동계지 만들면 코어되는 수 동안에 좀 쓰나 보고 동계 예라라 어제 때문에 가서 한다고 선지 공부하는 이거 쓰는 한다고 선지를 선지 탄디도 선지 공부하는 거 지키는 것도
Next, we cultivate bodhicitta toward all mother sentient beings. First, we ask ourselves, who should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of lower realms and of samsara? I should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of lower realms and of samsara. But I do not have the ability to do so now. Only those who have achieved the perfect complete enlightenment have the ability to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all sentient beings, by all means, I want to become Buddha.
어디 이제서 간지나지고 선지티야 quantity is such a show, maybe simple, but running at the age of the most of the number of but they did it. We didn't know the command on the same. Project which you depend on the Chinese city. Running at the age of the day, the project got sent of the number to
Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind, that our conventional aspiring bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all sentient beings, I want to become Buddha. So this mind turned into a white perfect mundis, at one's heart. And one's ultimate bodhicitta, which is one mind becoming in oneness with emptiness, that all phenomena are lacking of inherent existence. And these turned into a white 5-pronged vajra on top of the mundis.
But they just document the Chita that a country and not
Next, we meditate on emptiness, that I exist neither intrinsically one with, nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I do not exist intrinsically.
But they just say the 20 days, some people got the pages, and we chase and we need to do the listen to the kind of use of the
Set motivation. For the sake of all sentient beings, I want to become Buddha. For this purpose, I'm going to receive the commentary on holy teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Someday,
yeah, so I'm going to start with meditative concentration. So I apologize because the text that I previously used was the older version, so older edition. So you may see some words it was different. So now I'm using the latest version already. So there will be no such problem. So we all are using the same text now. Yeah, so meditative concentration is one of the 5 object ascertaining mental factors. So this is the meditative concentrations that we usually talk about. So what is the entity of meditative concentration? And the Compendium of Knowledge says, so what is meditative concentration? It is the one-pointedness of the mind with respect to an imputed thing, and it has the functions of acting as a support for knowledge. So as said, so it is a one-pointedness of mind that within observing and imputed things is continuously set upon it, and the objective feature or the feature of the object of for meditative concentration is specified to be an imputed thing. So this is the object for the meditative concentration. So when we talk about this meditative concentration, basically is about the mind focus on an object. So as a firmly focus on an object. Is the mind firmly focus on an object? So and is not due to a distraction and distract to some other objects. So and the mind firmly focus on the object, then is like the water and the milk mixed together. Yeah, so the objective feature of meditative concentration is specified to be an imputed thing, because when cultivate meditative concentration, one holds the mind to an object of observation that is imputed by the mind. So because of this reason, then the object is an imputed thing. Yeah. So meditative concentration basically is meditate and basically is firmly the mind firmly focus on one object. So when we talk about meditative concentration, so in brief, it is a mind firmly focused on object of observation. So at the beginning, when you choose an object to be your object of observation, then your mind firmly focus on that object and do not get distracted to other objects. So that is meditative concentration. So furthermore, although there appear to be many enumerations of objects of observation for meditative concentration, when condensed, it is taught that there are 4 categories: objects of observation for purifying behavior, for purifying afflictions, pervasive objects of observation, and observation for developing skill. So this is the object of observation for meditative concentrations. So I'm going to talk about this in detail when we come to meditative concentration, the topic of meditative concentration in Lumbrim topics. So I previously mentioned this before. I'm not sure whether you still remember. So however, I'm going to talk about it in detail when we come to the topic of meditative concentration in Lumbrim.
담보 소소리 때 힘이 두고 있는 것은 아직도 소리와 담보 밑바 가르치는 디그리스 힘이 뭐야 밑바 가르치는 디그리스 이는 어떤 소소를 간다 뭐 제비 가라 예 이치 상황에 그 제거를 맞을 때 완식이 들리 미세고 지하게요.
So when we talk about meditative concentration, then you might have questions. To the meditative concentration, does it arise in sense consciousness or does it arise in mental consciousness? And the answer is meditative concentration arises in mental consciousness. So when we talk about cultivating meditative concentration, it is not cultivated in sense consciousness or while you're staring at an object. While you're looking at the object, then you cultivate the meditative concentration. It's not like that, because meditative concentration arises in sense consciousness. So at first, if you want to cultivate meditative concentration and if you want to achieve calm abiding, then yes, you have to observe well for an object. For example, if you were to choose the Buddha's image as your object of observation, through which you want to achieve calm abiding, then at first you check properly, observe properly the Buddha's image. So then when you do meditative, when you cultivate concentration or when you cultivate the meditative concentration, then you focus on the object in your mind. That is why it is said that meditative concentration arises in mental consciousness. So same as, so if you want to achieve calm abiding, you can choose any object, anything to be your object of observation. So then you bring it to your mind and your mind focus on it.
그래서 땡이 힘이 발라 다시 공도 망고요 다 접바 넣어주고 너무 넣어주고 처비니까 캐비니 봐서 다 공보다 강 진실선을 망고 추래로 와다 간다 양다바 위바 양다바 주고서 또 무요 해서 당에 봐도 땡이 공부를 가서 동반지 대서와다 장주지 세서와다 미바 어다 들리미시 민지서 들리랑에 봐 보고서 땡 무요 땡이 공을 미바들어 오다 들리선사 다 간다 가서 땡이 공한테 먼저 세대 배로와 세대파 간다 미파 카라라 소바이나 텔파 템부 소네 데세디 야지야 텔파 공바치니 야지다 데세디 띵에지야 야지다 다마도 신이 두고나 담보 미파치라 소네 상황에 다 띵에지 보니 야지다 그러와 그 야지야 땅에 때간다 간사질라 소소비 신이 토도까지 그 신이 텔라테네 그 한도 토도까지 다 신이다 한도니까 토바이나다 본 가르치는 이거 전부 쉬고 찾아와 뭐 가르치는 이거 전부 찾아. 그래서 제가 젤레고라는 소신이 볼 지실 젤레고와 오 들리지. 다 간다 세 소소가 야자 템보 지니다 들리 제지가 상호단에 신이 토바이나 그 신이 될 토이는 가도 시장직 되어서 다 소요를 미세 시장직 되어서 그러고 근데 토발 때에 한도 그 한도 그 때 간다 너무 간다 내지쇼 칼나 참마라 카티자 통계를 다 돈다 한도 내고 와 오, 들리선다. 완전 가서 공지에 심바야지 당. 문디쇼데 파까. 어, 다 너무 두서 파까 또 데려와. 너무 두서 가야 들어와. 어디들이 그래서 공지에 세야지 당 들어와.
Yeah. So talking about the object for meditative concentrations, as mentioned just now, there are many different categories. Then, not besides. I mean, when we talk about this object of observations, there are like these 4 categories: purifying behavior, purifying afflictions, and etc. And even the object of observation for developing skill, there are subdivisions as well, such as focus on sources, focus on constituents, etc. So, and then there is you might have another doubt. So when we choose an object to do meditative concentration, does this object have to be a correct object or a real object or not? So the answer is no. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. So because to cultivate meditative concentrations is not necessarily to focus on the meaning of emptiness. It's not necessarily to focus on bodhicitta or compassions. So basically, any objects can be you can choose any object to focus on it and then to develop meditative concentrations. So, however, it is advisable to meditate on those holy objects as a meditation to develop meditative concentration. So when we say cultivate meditative concentrations, as mentioned just now, basically it is the mind firmly focused on the chosen object. You have chosen the object at the beginning, then your mind again and again focus on that object. So by doing so, you improves your mind, you develops your mind. So the more you develop your mind, this single pointedness, in which the minds firmly focus on the object, and then you will be able to achieve calm abiding. So when you achieve calm abiding, then you will also experience pliancy. So when we talk about pliancy, there are two types of pliancy: physical pliancy and mental pliancy. Then on the basis of calm abiding, one will be able to achieve the special insight. And this special insight able to stop those discordant factors. So if we so together with these two, combining these two, calm abiding and special insight, whatever meditation later we engage in, it becomes very powerful. So commentary on Dignaga's Compendium of Valid Cognition and engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds are quoted here to support the points that well, when we cultivate meditative concentrations, then we achieve calm abiding. On the basis of calm abiding, then we achieve the special insight. And if we achieve special insight, then we will be able to abandon the discordant factors that prevent us from achieving liberations and the state of enlightenment, and to abandon the afflictions. Engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds says, having understood that afflictions are destroyed by special insight that is fully endowed with calm abiding, first seek calm abiding that is achieved through taking joy in non-attachment to the world. So basically, this verse talks about if we want to achieve calm abiding, we must first achieve. If we want to achieve a special insight, we must first achieve calm abiding. So if we do not achieve calm abiding first, there is no way for us to achieve special insight. So we must achieve calm abiding first, then we achieve special insight. So and this explanation is from the perspective of sutra, from sutra's perspective. And however, even though from Tantra perspective, it asserts otherwise. However, I'm not going to explain here. So basically, when we basically any object can be an object of observation for cultivating meditative concentrations. So there is a story about a herdsman. And this herdsman always look at take care of cows. Yeah, so take care of cows and always look at the big horns of the cow, and because of this great familiarity with the big horns of the cow, and always see this. So this herdsman chose that the big horns of the cow as the object of observation, and he developed come abiding. So basically, when we choose an object for developing cultivating meditative concentrations, it is an object that you have great familiarity. Something you greatly familiar with. And since we are a Buddhist, then it is good to choose the Buddha's image as the object of observation for cultivating come abiding. So when we put effort in cultivating meditative concentrations, then because we have to repeatedly focus our mind on the holy objects, right? The Buddha's image. So by observing by focusing our mind on the Buddha's image, then so there are so many benefits that we will receive by doing so. So in general, the roots of virtue that we will receive by focusing our mind on the Buddha's image is immeasurable, and the merits that we receive will be very extensive, and the collections of merits will be quickly completed, and our negativities can be quickly purified by focusing our mind on on the Buddha's image in order to cultivate meditative concentrations as well. So there are many benefits that we will receive if we choose Buddha's image as the object of observation for cultivating meditative concentration. Also, the scripture on discipline repeatedly teaches the way in which the training in meditative concentration depends on the training in ethics, and the training in wisdom depends on the training in meditative concentration. So regarding this point, so I have mentioned many times already when we study Lamrim also talk about this as well. So the order the order of three trainings with which we practice. So first, we must train in meditative concentrations. Then on top of that, we train in meditative concentration. And on top of that, we train in wisdom. So on this point, even though I have mentioned many times already, however, this is an important point that worth repeating it.
나 다시니 그 시험에 가서 아쉬울 지 상례우리 생지 대이 실로 찌퍼나 너 찌가 간다 이거 대두가 이거야 너 찌를 이거 대두가 되는 거 좋아 다시니 상례 같이 너 찌터라 나도 저 디우리 간다 냥이 지야 있어 얼마 대상을 붙이 뜻이 좋아.
And so when we talk about this, the stages of the path of three scopes of being, so these stages of the path can be condensed into 6 perfections. And these 6 perfections can be further condensed into 3 trainings. And these 3 trainings can be further condensed into 2, the method and wisdom. And these 2 method and wisdom can be further condensed and is Tantra related. So, which is the spontaneous wisdom of great bliss can be condensed into this one, spontaneous wisdom of great bliss, and is Tantra related. So, this spontaneous wisdom of great bliss, this one mind itself, endowed with these 2, the method and wisdom.
당어도 라바 선보대 아무 가서 스링기 라바 시자의 스링기 라바도 그거 좋아 시자 스링기 라바 이 스링기 라바 때라 땡기 라바 때라 땡기 라바 다 대수는 가서 상주 남 체문에 림바 대가로 소리 좋아 림바 대가 소야 돼 나도 그거 준수 쉬어야 돼 나도 상지지 공부 도구로 와 상지지 공부 도구래 상지지 공부 도와라 상지지 공부 도와라 같이 챙게 다 유리의 시리즈 니요와 뉴모보다 간다 시리즈 차라 뭐뭐죠 좋아 뉴모보다 시리즈 참아 요와 상지식 공부하라 다 같이 챙게 나도 좀 뭐뭐나 같이 와서 상지식 공부도 두고요 말이야 나 도무도서 담보 와서 다 뉴모 차라 간디식 공부나 담보 라파도 방고래 마도 참모도 방 두고요 말이야 담보 와서 라파도 방고와
바지디
오 담보 라파도 방고와 다 네티 다ችን 공부하고나 담보 님을 아파서 반도 그래 님을 처음 반도 말아라서 어때 간다 담보 아파서 반 데텔이 야 디제 차와도 막 데레 차시도 어때 든지지냐 림바 반도 같이 도 와. 야 노다는 안가 리바 림바가 노다는 다 든지 림바가 노다는 가서 라바서 림바데 다다 차지 가라 니고 같이 자라 다 담보 뜻이죠
Yeah, also mentioned in stages of the path to enlightenment as well. These 3 trainings, one must first train in morality, then train in concentration, meditative concentration, and then one train in wisdom. So we all want to achieve the state of enlightenment, right? And in order to achieve the state of enlightenment, that which prevents us, that which obstructs us from achieving so is the obscurations. And obscurations can be divided into 2 types. One is afflictive obscurations, another one is cognitive obscurations, or in other words, the obscurations to omniscience. So these 2 types of obscurations can be further divided into many different levels because of they are coarse type and they are subtle type as well. So they are subtle obscurations and they are coarse obscurations. If we do not abandon these 2 types of obscurations, one will not be able to achieve the state of enlightenment. So first, so we need to abandon these 2 types of observation. So take afflictions, for example. So when we first abandon the afflictions, we must first abandon the coarse one. And because if we were to jump straight to abandon the subtle type of afflictions, we are not able to do so as well. So first, when we abandon the afflictions, we abandon the coarse one. Then we further then after we abandon the coarse one, then we abandon this the more subtle one, and then we abandon the more subtle one. So this is how we abandon the afflictions from the coarse type to the subtle type. And this way of abandoning afflictions corresponds to the 3 trainings.
나 든지스랑 와서 지금 담보 지금 일라바도 면이 줘야 돼. 요즘 저다 소다지 지금 내가 시키지 쉬고 当我做脑筋指定时候的，你说他就指定的做的，我做另外一个年纪就是话，干个多少有多没的，今年不有多没的，是吧？年不的，我做另外一个年纪的啥话了，他现在了在那，是吧？另外一个年纪做，另外一个年纪都怕多了，看他说他就指定的，当看他这个年不卡的讲的，有多没的差不多，是吧？指定的，
年不做的，
我年不做差不多，说他个指定的业务，当我做另外一个年纪做怕，打他搞头了。
So when one first train in morality, so morality, take for example the morality of individual liberation, or the vows of individual liberation, or the morality of individual liberation. So this morality of individual liberations serves as the main antidote to stop the misdeed of body and speech. So it serves as the main antidote to stop the physical and verbal misdeed. So physical and verbal misdeed comparatively, it is a coarse misdeed.
那第一就是另外一个年纪是老把这把说到就就，但我就经常我这给年纪东把需要的热用那热用东把需要的话给是，我在等的年龄东把需要都怎么了？那这样子生活帮他还不是吧？我就给年纪东把需要的看到，那另外一个年纪就是说忙不去帮我是吧？是天天工作。我就是天天在身上，当然是出进去，对了，另外我们就是打他的讲的是吧？因为忙就。
Yeah, so when we receive the morality of individual liberation, for example, the vows of lay vows or ordained vows, for example, or novice vows, then when we receive such vows, then we have to make promise to avoid. Yeah, we have to make promise to avoid and not engage in the physical and verbal negativities or physical and verbal misdeeds, right? So when we think about the vows that we receive when we receive for example, the lay vows and etc., then we will know that we make promise to avoid many physical and verbal misdeeds. Yeah, like for example, when we receive the lay vows, one is we abandon killing sentient beings, and another vows that we have to receive is we abandon lying about one's spiritual realizations. So those are the physical and the verbal misdeeds one promise to abandon. And so when one train in meditative concentrations, then one will be able to stop the one more subtle than the previous one. So the training in morality able to stop the physical and verbal misdeeds, right? So when one train in meditative concentration, one will be able to stop those more subtle than the previous one. And we say, and when at the beginning of the class, when we talk about the meditative concentration, it is the mind firmly focused on the object, right? So when mind firmly focused on the object, then those like pride, anger, jealousy, and the competitiveness, mind of competitiveness, and they are not able to manifest. So because when our minds firmly focus on the object of observation, these anger, jealousy, etc., they are not able to manifest themselves. Yeah. So when we come to abandon the subtle type of afflictions together with their imprints, then we have to generate the wisdom of realizing emptiness. So without this wisdom of realizing emptiness, we are unable to abandon these subtle type of afflictions. So, and the training in morality and training in meditative concentrations. So with just these two are unable to abandon the subtle type of afflictions. So we must cultivate the wisdom of realizing emptiness. So regarding the coarse and subtle objects of abandonment, then in relation to, as if for achieving the state of enlightenment, then when we abandon these objects of abandonment, then we start with the coarse one, and then we go to the subtle one. So first start with the coarse one, then we slowly move on to abandoning the subtle one. So it's just like washing clothes. I mentioned this example before many times also. So it's just like washing a very dirty clothes. If the clothes is very dirty, so if you wash it first time, then it will remove the coarse dirt. And then the more you wash it, then the more subtle type of stain will be washed away. So this as an example to talk about when we abandon the afflictions or abandon the object of abandonment, then it starts with the coarse one, then we move on to the subtle one.
That is just one thing there. That was a lot of things that you don't know. That the beach is right. That is given on the children. That day, well, I'm share it.
Yeah. So this is the brief explanations about the order to practice the three trainings. So when we come to Lamrims, then in that context, then I'm going to talk about it in more detail. So next, I'm going to talk about wisdom. So wisdom, regarding the nature of wisdom, the Compendium of Knowledge says, what is wisdom? It strongly differentiates, or it thoroughly differentiates the qualities of things that are to be examined, and it has the functions of overcoming doubts. Yeah, so to summarize the nature of wisdom, or to summarize the points about wisdom, wisdom is the one differentiates the good and bad, that differentiates the good from the bad, and to differentiates the false from the good. So this is the very short summary about wisdom. So wisdom is the one differentiates the good from the bad and to differentiates the quality from the faults. And the objects that are to be examined by wisdom are of three types: virtuous, non-virtuous, and unspecified. So this wisdom differentiates the virtuous, the non-virtuous, and unspecified. So it differentiates the quality, it differentiates the faults from the qualities, etc. So there are four ways of reasoning for differentiating faults and good qualities. The first one is functional reasoning, or the reasoning of function. The second one is reasoning of dependence. The third one is logical reasoning, or the reasoning of tenable proof. And the fourth one is the reasoning of nature. So regarding these four ways of reasoning, I've mentioned this in Logic awareness in lower class. So the reasoning of functions, or the functional reasoning, so to make us easy to understand, basically is the mind functions to look at things. Eyes looks at forms. Sorry, eyes looks at form. So this is one of the example of reasoning. It's a functional reasoning. And the ear, you can say the ear functions to listen to the sound, or the ear to hear the sound, and nose functions to experience the smell. Yeah. So the reasoning of dependence, for example, sprouts grows in dependence. Sprouts grows in dependence on its cause, seed. Yeah. So this is an example for reasoning of dependence. And the logical reasoning, or the reasoning of tenable proof. So, for example, sound is impermanent because it is a product. So sound is permanent. Why is it permanent? The reason is it is product. So it depends on the reason. Then it becomes to prove the sound is impermanent. So it becomes the logical reasoning, or the reasoning of tenable proof. And the second example is there is so there is fire on the mountain pass because there is smoke. So depends on the reason of there is smoke, then one knows there is fire on the mountain pass.
That is the change repass. That change repass the kind of condition that kind of how may range in the change reservoir. May range from how in the change reservoir. China for Chi range from nation. What nation? What kind of there was. How may range in the change reservoir. That didn't delicious lower. Let's how in the Czechia in the young as what is one on sheet. Actually, Tidang also male album, two to the Bobasi, Chunius or Chuni. Male album was in Chunius, two to the man over the Chunius.
Male lalaba.
Mechana Yamba, men by the Chita Yamba, teaching them on to the Mara.
Yalaba.
Oh, Layamba.
Oh,
Chila,
me Agela Yaga. Chula.
That should go the map, Rangi map on Kang Mara.
And the fourth one is reasoning of nature. So reasoning of nature is very easy. Then, like for the example is the nature of fire is hot. The nature of fire is hot, and the nature of water is moistening. And the other example, like for example, fire. So when fire ablaze. So yeah, when fire ablaze, then it ablaze upward, right? So the fire kind of like go upwards, right? Naturally it goes upward instead of going downwards, right? And when water flows, so it naturally flows downward instead of going upward, right? So that is the reasoning of nature. Example of reasoning of nature.
That is, that kind of shadow, so the answer that kind of Castle of Sopaye, Toba, the Pachepa Chingi, but Jinki, Dasha Jinki, Hero said the answer so good, Topa Yabina, in the me, you're the mess. I was a Topa Mambo, said the Topa to the hero of Chitu. Hero was a Radina, she said, he chicken, he jalpe, Radi the pay, that she was a or that Susu Toba. You're not mess on that, in a mice on that, so what that the big Topa needs. This is attack on the hero which ever showed it up with his over.
Yeah. So wisdom cuts doubts, or wisdom cuts doubt, or wisdom eliminates doubt, or overcomes doubts. And when we have doubts, whether it is something or it is not something, whether there is something or whether there is not something, there is not something. So when we have such doubt, then wisdom able to eliminate them. So wisdom is likened to a sword, the cuts, able to cut the wood. So just like this, wisdom able to cut doubts, eliminate doubts, and etc. So when wisdom examine or analyze, then you're able to cut those doubts.
Nothing of the union of the Rashid Mujin, Union of Polakanda, and the Gimbalas of the thing of Polakanda, Union Jim Carrier Reservoir. Immediately, she gave Jim Cousin. But you so soon never. You so soon never she gave us. You so soon never. Union security, that useful in the share. Go to the ship. You so soon never.
Yeah. So here talks about why it's called object ascertaining mental factors. So why is the reason for calling these 5 mental factors as object ascertaining? Because it individually ascertain objects. So because they individually ascertain objects, therefore they are called object ascertaining mental factors.
Why you so soon the countries in the you know, Nimba, Nimba Siwati, so turn the Naji Yutila Kanda, Juguria Mato, turn the Naja Maiba Susu and Deva, Mayuki, Nimba the Gumara. Nimba Tena Jumarwa.
Turn to Nija.
Susu Turni, Sagi Yutila. Dylan Dimba Siwat, Susu Turni, Sagi, Yutila Juguria Mato, turn the Naja Mayu Yutila, Nimba the Gumara. Nimba the Gumara. Oh, Jumarisi. That kind of use also. Rang the Naja Yutila and Jura Mato, turn the Naja maybe Yutila, then Dimba the Jumarisigo. So don't you near Basi, Rangi, you near Tere. If you turn the Naja Yutila, Jupala Nigo Mato, they might be Yula, then Jumarisi.
Yeah, so the way these mental factors ascertain their individual objects is, so 5 object ascertaining mental factors, right? The first one is aspiration. So when we talk about aspiration, and aspirations engage in the objects that one wish for, that one strive for. So if it's not an object one strives for, aspirations will not arise, right? Aspiration will not engage that object, right? So in other words, is aspiration will not ascertain that object. So the object refers to the object one strive for. So the object one strive for, then aspiration engage the object one strives for, and aspiration do not engage the object one doesn't strive for. So other way of saying ascertain the object, other way to say the engage the object, also the aspiration ascertain the object one strives for. So yeah, this is the first one, how aspiration engage or ascertain its object.
That thing is a good Mebasiwa. That Mebasiwa, the young neighbors, the war. Nebalo, that Mebasiwa, the Casino is there. Narpe, Neba, Susu, Neba Yobachi, Nesimpachi.
You never said.
Oh, never draw that. Dimba never draw anybody. Never the Napa Tom, Susan, tell him never Yobichula. Never Yobala, you tell him Jumuriamasa. Narpe, Nepa Tombe, none, Masiba Henda Jila, and that do Marisura. Never saw the Susu. You can't let Susu turn the nature in and turn the name. Can you check? Can you Susu never? Yabo is the mediana. The Hinda in your town to Maris, the Kanda, the Mais in your town to Marsusu, never Yabo, able to Diana, the Hinda in your town to Maris. Oh, never saw that. That's Susu never you Jilla, Julia Mato, Susu never. No, never Tom to be shooting that Jilla on Ju Maris.
No, never you la, they never
Mebachi would have no money, which you never cheer your Marwa.
Mebaki tiny team, Mebangi, that is Bajiga.
Oh, never gave us.
Yeah. And the second one is belief.
No, Nisi Bajila never check this. Or Dilla never Machiba, the money Bajila never cheer your Marwa.
Yeah, so the second one is belief, and the way beliefs ascertain its object is beliefs arises with regard to the object one previously ascertained. So beliefs arises with regard to the object one previously ascertained, and beliefs doesn't arise with regard to object one do not previously ascertain. So another way of saying this is beliefs ascertain a previously ascertained object.
Now you knew about that Temba the Tegare, Temba Chevada, not Kondi you Uchila, and as a Tehi Chigram, Condition Mibala Tehi Chia for Yomar. So, not Pamana Wachina, Pama the Tembi Tehi Jawala, Pama the young the pay, Pama the Shere country and the Kusu country and the chances of the not Kundi yes Sarwa. The Jess Pama Shere taken up, Temba the Chigram, Pambungan Chunakora, Pami Shere loss of a thorn in Jemanina, the Teshi Guru, Pami Shere Tembi Tehi Chia Yomara. Oh, not Kondi, Dipi Uchila, Temba the Chigram mother. They hear nothing to Bachi to Marissa. Neighbors, there are your neighbors.
So the third one is mindfulness. So mindfulness arises with regard to object one previously familiarized with. Yeah. So mindfulness arises with regard to object one previously familiarized with. So it is a familiar object. So mindfulness arises with a familiar object or one previously familiarized with, and mindfulness do not arise with object one do not previously familiarize with. So, for example, if we want to generate a memory of our fathers, of our parents, then the parents must be someone with whom we parents must be the one that we have greatly familiarized with, right? We have seen it, and then how their face look like, how their body looks like, etc. So you familiarize, you are familiar with the outlook or the appearance of our parents. Then later you can generate a memory consciousness of our parents. So if we never met our parents before, then there is no way that we can generate a memory consciousness remembering our parents. Yeah, and how meditative concentration and wisdom ascertain its object is it engage the object of examination. So both of them engage the object to be examined, or object of examination. So this is how meditative concentration and wisdom ascertain their individual objects. So the object is object to be examined, or the object of examination. So yeah, so now we come to the third category. So the 11 virtuous mental factors. So the 11 virtuous mental factors are faith, shame, embarrassment, non-attachment, non-hatred, non-ignorance, effort, pliancy, conscientiousness, equanimity, and non-harmfulness. Yeah. And the first one is faith. So according to Compendium of Knowledge, it says, what is faith? It is a conviction, clarity, and wishing with respect to an existence that is endowed with excellent qualities and power. It has the functions of acting as a support for aspiration. So regarding the functions of faith, we have already mentioned, or we mentioned before. Yeah, so regarding these three, conviction, clarity, and wishing. So in other words, it is the faith of conviction, faith of clarity, and wishing faith, or faith of wishing. So this actually I have mentioned this in a lumbering class already. So these three types of faith, conviction, clarity, and wishing, in relation to, I mentioned these three types of faith in relation to the body, speech, and mind of Lama. So in relation to the body of Lama, then is the faith of clarity, and in relation to the speech of Lama is the faith of conviction, and in relation to the mind of Lama, it is the faith of wishing.
그 여번이 세진도와 다니다. 저런서 거든도와. 여번이 세워도 당만서 그 라미게 송아 이시 대바 들라장데 거라. 다 렌데라 이시 대바. 인식이 안도라 이시 대바. 야 인식이 된다. 토야라
오나 라미게 송라 이시 대바.
이시 대바와. 라미 송아 이시 대바. 가지고 뜻이 라미 송아 이시 대바. 투랑는데 대바. 꼴라 당이 대바서 샤이바. 다단다 디스노
요바.
여번이 세워데 라미 빠르면서 라미 누마 대화로 봐야지는 라미 송아 이시 대바 여번이 세워. 윤딘지신도와 라미 꾼 통한지 대바 상황시와 당이 대바와. 당이 라마라 당이 대바는 라미 꾼 통한지 배 수술을 이 대바배 왕기 지어 대바배로 휴지배 대바를 놓지. 당이 대바서 라미인데 라미 꾼 통한지 라미 꾼 통한지 라미 윤딘나 까지는 쓰고 이 송방에 오르와. 대배 대바 휴지에 와. 윤딘지서. 다 니바나진도와 다 대들와. 투랑은데 대바서 들어와. 다 투랑은데 대바리면서 라미 배 투지지 배 랑라바선다. 토자타도 보면서 다들 샤오게 토자 배 랑라바선 거데. 배 인디질라 토야는 우리 대바시고랑 라바선 이식 대바데. 근데 라미 kusu 투지는래 투지인데 랑라바선 거지. 근데 된다와지 배 또바 제바지 근데 토나는 대바세. 와 대랑은데 대바세 되와. 있는데 대바세. 다소소 그때는 이제 그때 토야지.
Yeah, so it is a conviction, clarity, and wishing with respect to an existence and with excellent qualities and power. So the first one, with respect to an existence, so it refers to the faith of conviction once develops in relation to the speech of the Lama. So that is with respect to an existence, and with respect to possessing the excellent qualities, it is the faith of clarity. So faith of clarity, or faith of clear delight, or faith of admiration. So there are many translations for these words. So you try to get the meaning. So the faith of clarity refers to one's developed faith just by seeing the body of Lama. So it is a faith of clarity or faith of admirations. So one naturally generates faith by seeing the body of Lama. So that is with excellent qualities, and with power and power. So this power refers to the faith of
opportunities of planners and strategy. Okay, are you guys clear? Because I've been told there's a lot of people here, so if you are clear on this, then you will not feel that okay, I learned so many things from them.
Who is this? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So regarding the power, so it is the wishing faith, or the faith of longing or yearning. Again, there are many different translations. So faith, wishing faith, or faith of wishing. So basically, it is related to the mind of the Lama. So for example, the quality of the mind of Lama, which is the 3 trainings, then one generates faith, wishing to achieve the same. So that is the wishing faith. Yeah. So clarifying faith, clarifying faith of clarity. Yeah. So clarifying faith is a clear mind engendered by seeing the excellent qualities of those so endowed, such as the three jewels. So and during the lumbering class, and I explained these three types of faith in relation to the body, speech, and mind of Lama. So here we explain the same thing as well. So clarifying faith is a clear mind engendered by seeing the excellent qualities of those so endowed, such as the three jewels. Like for example, when we just by seeing a being who have achieved the cessations and path, which is the qualities who possess such quality, one develops the faith of clarifying faith, or the faith of admiration. Yeah, so why is it called clarifying? So for example, when one places a water purifying gem in dirty water, the murkiness of the water is immediately cleared away. So why is it called clarifying? Is because it is like a water purifying gem in dirty water. It purifies the dirt. So in other way of saying this is we install a water filter, and then it purifies the dirt out of the water, so it becomes a clear water. So this water purifying is also clarifying. So this clarifying faith is likened to this water purifying gem, that when one see the good qualities of Lama, and this clarifying faith arise in one mind. So when this clarifying faith arise in one mind, it removes the dirts of the mind. So dirts here refers to non-faith. So when this faith of clarifying faith arises in one mind by seeing the good qualities of Lama, then it purifies, or it clarifies, or it removes the dirt of the mind. And this here refers to non-faith. So it becomes this faith, clarifying faith becomes the antidote to non-faith. So faith of conviction is the gaining of conviction through contemplating the modes of dependent arising, cause and result, and so forth that are taught by the conqueror or the Buddha. So Buddha taught dependent arising, cause and effect, etc. Right, and one develops the faith of conviction in the speech or in the teachings of the Buddha. So that is faith of conviction.
ngode tabate pomba tabate da lamdi tenika ton nyambi tendigi debateresi gorwa debaterwa ton ba shini ta kanda duguni pombi de kanda ngode da lamdi ni de toja zone da deni pombi toja ngode da lamdi ni toba shini de toba sha nyambi tendigi ta debati wa anin de shi debati da de wa kanda labasu de kanda toja.
Wishing faith is, for instance, having contemplated the modes of the Four Noble Truths, ascertained true sufferings and true origins as objects of abandonment, and true cessations and true paths as objects of attainment, and having understood that these can be attained if one makes the proper effort, the faith, thinking, I shall definitely obtain them. So this is the example of a wishing faith. So as I mentioned just now, when we talk about the wishing faith, then it is related to the mind of the Lama. So here it's also the same. So through contemplating the Four Noble Truths, one ascertained that the first two truths, true suffering and the two true origins as objects of abandonment, and also ascertained the later two truths, the second two truths, the cessations and the path as the objects of attainment. So one wished to achieve the path that will lead to the cessation, which is liberations. So this is a wishing path. So one wish to achieve the path that leads to liberations. So that is a wishing path, wishing faith.
That Gawa Temba the conduct the Panda Chim, which is the mission to the Makatushi. I should now get up Gawa Tebani, or Gawa Tebani. Kanda Dilla Mishi Kanda Gawa in a Teba Mind, Teba in a Gawa Mind, Gawa the Tebaniga in Gawa the Tebaniga Mind case, that the Mishima.
So nowadays in our world, liking and faith are spoken of as if they are the same. Liking beer is said to be faith in beer, but liking and faith are nevertheless not the same. So there are four possibilities. So regarding liking and faith, so these two, there are four possibilities. So the first one is that which is a liking but is not faith. The second combination is that which is a faith but is not liking. And the third one is being both, and the fourth one is being neither.
That also Gawa in a Deva mind is Shawdwa. That Gawa in the Deva mind is that on the Rangi with the Chumala Supagawata. That Chanda Kadi, the Kala, the new Kala, Bunda Kala, in the Kala Gawa, Sila Gawa, Singamo, Changamola Supala, Gawa, that under the juice of the Gawa. That's like Gawa, some of the Devas, and then you think Tanya lock up already. That is like Gawa the words. That round you put a Chumala, so like Gawa matter, like Devas and a
So the first one, that which is a liking but is not a faith. Example, liking one's son, liking one's wife, liking alcohol, liking eating meals afternoon, liking dinner, liking the sweet food, and etc. So all these are likings, however they are not faith. So they are not faith even in conventionally when we talk about liking one's son, liking alcohol, and etc. We do not say faith in one's son, faith in alcohol, right? So these are the examples for the first combination.
That Deva in a Gawa mind case, that Deva in a Gawa mind was a Dunga Kui, that Magi, less about the Latin, that Dunga, Kuala Dunga, the Nimitla. That Nimitla pay, so with Dylan G. Johnny, Dilla Ichi Devatua, Dilla Ichi Devatua, Dilla Gawas Luma, Jum Magi, less about the Debut in Kuala Manquat, Kuala Dylan G. Johnny, the Dilla Ichi Deva. That Dylan G. Johnny, Jum Magi, less than Debut doing the Indian Jubu, that Dilakanda, G. Johnny pay, and the Indian Najat Ichi Deva. 오들이 다들 가와서 길링 뭐로 근데 그동안 노아라 가와서 길링 뭐로
And the second combination is that which is a faith but is not a liking. For example, fear from one's steps and faith or conviction regarding the drawbacks of samsaric, regarding the drawbacks of samsaric suffering. So here, the second combination is a faith but is not a liking. So, for example, one develops a faith of conviction in a cause and effect. That if one do non-virtuous actions, if one commits non-virtuous actions, one will experience the suffering in samsara, and then one develops develops fears of it. Then that is the faith of conviction in cause and effect.
다들 니가 가와서 대번이가 이게 들어와 다 기신이 유인되다 거비랜디 지피는 산비 뛰는 이치를 대바세 이치 대바래와 이치 가이 대바 이치 가와 다 간다 나도 나지 라미지 윤제 대바 거디는 그가 제스지 오만 지신의 그가 라미 구스도지 윤제도 되는 대바 도도는 대바 제도지 대바 제도가 아히지 때라 라미 कुछ भी इंडिया का वाची चेंज हुआ वो था लवी कुछ तो जी इंडिया का कुछ तो ये चीज देवा दा गवा निकल ले गवा गवा देवा निकल ले गवा वो ये चीज तो ता गवा देवा ले गवा वो कहते वो तो भी तदला शायद लवी कुछ तो जी इंडिया हुआ
The third combination is that which is both a faith and a liking. So, for example, faith from one's depths and liking due to contemplating the excellent qualities of the spiritual guide and the benefits of wholesome actions and their results. So, and I've mentioned this many times also, by remembering the qualities, one developed faith. By remembering the kindness, one developed respect. So, when one remember the qualities of body, speech, and mind, remember the qualities of Lama's body, speech, and mind, then remember the quality of body, speech, and mind of one's Lama, then one's developed faith. So in relation to the body, speech, and mind, the qualities of body, speech, and mind of one's Lama, then one developed faith of conviction, and then one also developed a liking as well. That which is neither a faith nor liking is anger, suffering, and so forth. So anger and sufferings, they are neither faith nor liking. Yeah. So again, then there are people have qualms, then saying that liking and respect, are they same or are they different? Yeah. So again, in the world, we speak of them as if they are the same. So the liking and respect. So as if they are the same, when in fact they are not. So liking a spiritual friend is faith. So I've mentioned this already. So, but respect for him, respect for the spiritual teachers involves contemplating his kindness, knowing shame and valuing him highly. So it is again, by remembering the kindness, one develops faith. So respect for him involves contemplating his kindness. So remembering his kindness, one develops faith, develops respect. So hence, when liking and respect arise in the continuum, they are separate mental factors. So, liking spiritual friends and faith in spiritual friends, they are both. So, in relation to the spiritual friends, then when we come to respecting spiritual friends, so one by remembering his kindness, then one develops respect. Then these two, liking and respect, are separate mental factors. Because of this reason, these two are separate mental factors. So in accordance with how they appear in the great treatises, you analyze these modes in detail with the wisdom of individual investigation, examining the way in which they are generated in the continuum by turning your mind inwards, and then you get to know them. You cannot know them merely through words. So what it means is, so those meaning and those points mentioned in those great texts, like for example about the modes of existence or the modes of being, then you have to use the wisdom of individual investigation to analyze it. Then after you do the analyze with this wisdom, then you will come to understand the point or come to understand the meaning. So you will not understand the point or the meaning by just reciting the words, just reading the words, you will not understand it, or even just reading it like a storybook, and then you will not understand it as well. So you must examine it with the wisdom. So with these meanings in mind, the foremost omniscient Tsongkhapa repeatedly advises that in order to perform wholehearted practice, you must rely upon a skillful spiritual friend and acquire much hearing on the meaning of the scriptures. So as Lama Tsongkhapa says, if you want to practice well, then you must rely on spiritual friends or the spiritual teachers. So from spiritual teachers, you listen to the teachings, you repeatedly and extensively listen to the teachings, and then that results in a broad contemplations or extensive contemplations, and that results in broad or extensive contemplations. Without listening to the teachings, then there is nothing much to contemplate, and since there is nothing much to contemplate, there is nothing much to meditate on as well. So if you want to practice, if you want to do well in listening, contemplation, and meditations, then you must rely on spiritual friends.
well Raboina, Company do lesson, D Shawaina, D do not cut the deep channel with all Chukre little Marisol, Chinachi, or Dig Marisol, Dig Tomati. What the dinner she, Leno Chida, Lord Demia, but a son of me, but the Zilla, they can't choose Shivaina, they cannot pay. It's also much about university.
So, however, nowadays, when these great texture systems are explained to foolish beings who are deprived of the gem of intelligence and inferior in merit, they become frightened, terrified, and flee far away, as though a poisonous snake had sensed the odor of musk. So, yeah, if a teacher were to explain the meaning of those great texts to those foolish being. So foolish being also means those who are lazy and those who are foolish and those who whose merit is very low. So a very little amount of merit. So to such beings, then don't mention that after the spiritual teacher explain the meaning of those great texts to them, and then they will engage in listening, contemplation, and meditation. So don't mention about it. Then they just hearing the words or explanations of those great texts, they get terrified and then they run away. They run far away. So then just like the example here, a poisonous snake has sensed the odor of musk. So musk is something form inside an animal, deer. Then this lawa the deer in deer mare. Oh yeah, another is not deer, another type of sentient beings. So this if snake in Tibet, if snake were to come into our house, then they will put this mask at the entrance and etc. Then the snake sense the smell. Then this snake will not come to the house. They are frightened by it. So this poisonous snake. These foolish beings, those with little amount of merit, and those a lazy one, then they are likened to the snake. Musk deer. So odor of musk. So this is formed in the musk deer.
That is your. That is your.
Yang pu di kasa kolong di tong.
That day color. Then the Nazo, the person was in the Gina to do lots of to Nashi. That she got to use so long for that day, Gina, Nazo, she got Pasha Nazo in a Jansovala Tambo, Loyal Berlin, so Tony Mari, Jansovala, Javano Tambo, the Bala, the day with the Shanana, she wouldn't go up. Make 2 months. That book you have to again, so now the indecision of Jimmy Marwa. But that Janso Tambo Balo Chimbo with the Shanana. Shoal Pandoma. That did not she. That patient chamber with Kazan go to check with the Sudma, Chugma, the tea, she will that indeed, she banaji, Jansen Balon, Jita Chibanachipa, you know it. That's much about that thing at the same synonym, but the Milochi that no do you what still aware.
Yeah. Then another example to describe the foolish being, those with little amount of merit and those who are lazy one, then is a little child had caught sight of a whirlpool. So don't mention about little child see a whirlpool and then they get terrified. So even adults who never or who seldom see the oceans or see the oceans, and if they were to go near the water and then if they happen to see the whirlpool, then they even adult they get terrified as well. So don't mention a little kid. So so then similarly, if beings who are lazy, foolish, with little merit, to them great texts will explain, then don't mention they will engage in those engage in the meaning of those great texts through listening, contemplation, and meditations. They will run far away, just like they see the whirlpool.
Maybe this is a war. That is what that is so good. The little children do. Little children, and that Lord member, Senna member, the so good. That Jagaji painted chamber pet so good. Shown to all about. Meaning, Chiduchia, that did my ditch ever the pet. That could be new. Come on, she tell yes, and you more come on, you more come on, finish your mara. That the other she could be Shunchabo Lord, painted and Shunchabo, such a good zealot. That was a person who would cheer it, you more come on, she was years ago.
So those who view the exalted speech of the great scholars and adapts from the lands of superiors, so land of superior is India, so as pith instructions seem like stars during daytimes. So those exalted speech or the great commentary texts composed by those great scholars and those great practitioners. So their exalted speech should be regarded as pith instructions. However, those who engage in listening, contemplating, and meditating on those exalted speech of the great scholars and etc. and practitioners are like the stars during daytime. So they are very rare.
That the whole Madishan, that the big shills and the big shills and the big dish, that Cassie told to shut her was a day. You need you, Sindita, Sindicho, Tenant Dimba Jola, you didn't tell each Deba. That Deba candidate, or Deba indeed candidate, you sort of wanted the Chibale, that lady in my was somebody else, somebody teaching.
Here, the functions of faith is specified as acting as a support for aspiration because, as explained above, the cause of all excellent qualities is effort. In order to generate effort, one needs the aspirations that strives or that seeks. In order to generate aspiration, one needs to see the excellent qualities as well as possess the faith of conviction. So this I also mentioned many times previously.
That is so good. Kunjatolism, Devanga mother Chiba, you didn't just see Topaski chew, chew on the door. Deba daily Kunchin surgeries, Deba nobody that you conscious at that Deba nobody Saint Tamashinke, Naja Punch Pizza. That Deba the Yabuja and Naja Yumare, say Sama Chabura and the Lalo Palina, Deba Yabuna Tansi Sama Libura, Tansi Sama Libore, Lalo to Tansi Sama Lebana. Children to get the son of a son of a in the world with the
Debayuna.
What they were some Yavaina. Well, that is so kind of this also says how much I think you would start. The bus of the Nazo, Yundi Mali, Sindri Gendo, she said. The Tepakaji Taji Jews, the bus of the Super Yundi Kandiji, Jutopa Chibuna, but the about the Shizar Yes. The about the Mena, they can't Inji Toya for your Mataji Shiba Nigeria. Sanji Masuya, Lando, Asian Naja, Lady Naja, nothing each, they were never enough. You can only Chimoro, even any Chimoro. Oh, dear. Let me put to so Deba, Cola Pine, there was so each Deba, Tula Mendic Deba, the Digi Never, let me get another shilling tomorrow. But that is it, that so Gila, Oba Chichi to condition, Lama Mativa, Yomaris, Oba Chichi to condition. Oh, that let me put to the Indian Mativa Yomaris. That the ever said that's also good. And I unit of what you can reach that the ever is there, then I can achieve to Marisiva.
So in this vein, the formula of the three jewels blaze also says faith is the forerunner and like a mother is the procreator. So another way of saying this is faith is the preliminary, like a mother who gives birth. And it guards and increases all excellent qualities. It dispels doubts and frees you from the four great rivers. Faith signifies the city of happiness and goodness. So if we have faith, then we will not, pride will not arise in us because of faith, then our mind will become very pure. So pure, free of this like pride, jealousy, etc. So if we have a pure faith, then the guru-disciple relationship also become very pure. The commitments also become very pure. So if we have faith, then whatever good qualities that wants to generate in one's mind stream, then if we have faith, then we have the foundation. to generate any good qualities in one's mind stream. And if we do not have faith, so like for example, if we do not have faith in Buddha, so the Buddha's teaching on Four Noble Truths, the objects of abandonment and objects of attainment in relation to Four Noble Truths, if we do not have faith in Buddhas, then we will not practice it, right? So similarly, if we do not have faith in Lama, then we will not develop respective faith in relation to body, speech, and mind of our Lamas as well. So yeah, and thus and it resulted in not receiving the blessings from Lama. So basically, whatever big or small realizations one wants to generate in one's mind stream, it depends on all of these depends on relying properly on Lama.
Lando yini so much shini kilo nyani chia dire patogwe dire yesene lando yini sheba ina ili songa ichi deba meba ina titigi tene de legmare tela tene de maleba ina tela sendi de legmare sendi de meba ina ti lando yini wa lando te gini de tega nashi gite toja to karine de togumare panja karine de pantu marwa te pantu mare tu gubat kare dugwe de tutwa ya marwa.
Yeah, so if one do not have faith in Lama, for example, Lama give teachings on the objects of abandonment and objects of attainment to the disciples, and if we do not have faith in the speech of Lama, so in particular the faith of convictions in the speech of Lama, then we are not going to strive for it, right? We are not going to strive for achieving as advised by the Lama. So, and if we do not have the aspiration that strives, then we will not develop effort also, right? So if we do not develop any effort in achieving it, then in relation to the objects of abandonment and objects of adoptions, then what we should be abandoned, we are not abandoned. We do not abandon it, and what should be attained, we do not attain it as well, and that results in not achieving any goal.
Nebo khati chama de da hini tsawan du tu marwa hini dubal tambo lelo de inji inji ka gore lelo de ba waya la nebo khati na hijang to gore eswa hijang ya se hijali se hijaji to ba ina da lelo de ngani thani to to gore eswa lelo to to gore es da hijang de to ba la garu jo garu ju ting esna ju zeli de gore es zeli de mena hijang tsawan to to mar ta khachi shi sa de ji shi de ge chen bo sa yan de ji shi wa zeli de mena hijang tsawan ni to to ma es that zeli de yong ala garu esna döne jin dimba shini de la ya döne jin dimba de gore es döne jin dimba de ya go ji me ba ina zeli zang ma es zeli zang ma es wa zeli zang döne jin dimba yong ala garu esna shini de ge piyo la 이치 대바지 고레스 피해들 이치 대바 와 신이선은 다 니버 첨부 배 수수지라 배 두번년에 간디치는 니버 첨부 피해랍 첨부여 봐 드리들 이치 대바지 이치 대바지 매바이나 그때라 전에 레고 말이스 아때라 이치 대바지 레바이나 어다 전에 레그래 전에 야고 여바이나 그 전주도 도도그래 전주 야고 여바이나 시장 토도그래 시장 토나 그 레로 돈이 그 소속에 타바도 단지 친구 고박 가르두구나 그 누야기 미바 투투를 해서 지투를 해서 어다디 림바데페 나지로 나네 간디라잖아마 상마라 자여다 그 같이 지셔자이 들이 앉아 지셔 와
신이기 표현인데 이치기 대바이나 댕건도기 대바이나
그 레오디 다가도 들라 이치 대발레오 와 신이지 랑도 때 신이 공부하는 들라 리부들이 대야도 표현들이 이중으로 들라 이치 대발레오 와
랑도도
이치 대발레오 이치 대발레오 그들라 먼저지 대바도 레레레 와 먼저지 대바서 길라 지역 대레오 이게 원래 맞대
Yeah. So yeah, so regarding this faith, like I'll say another example that I mentioned before, then and this worth repeating as well. So in order to achieve calm abiding, then we have to stop laziness, right? We have to counteract or stop laziness. And if we are unable to stop laziness, then there is no way that we can achieve calm abiding and other qualities as well. So in order to achieve calm abiding, achieve good qualities such as calm abiding, then we must stop laziness. And in order to stop laziness, we must achieve the physical and mental pliancy. And in order to achieve the physical and mental pliancies, then we must achieve its cause, which is joyous effort or effort. And in order to develop effort or to start having this joyous effort, then we must develop aspiration that strives or striving aspiration first. Without it, then there is no way that we can generate the joy, the effort. And in order to generate striving aspirations, then we must develop faith of conviction in the benefits of achieving calm abiding and the benefits and the objects of abandonment and objects of adoptions in relation to achieving calm abiding. Then we develop a faith of conviction in the benefits of achieving calm abiding. And if we have this faith, then we will have striving aspiration. If we have striving aspiration, then we will develop effort. And if we have effort, then that is the cause for us to achieve the physical and mental pliancies that will be able to stop laziness.
gets a lapa, gets a degree. That was a lava digi, Tala Khalid, the roots of the summer to root, Lava roots so to Nora. Josica said, Jala Sama to Pontuanashi. But Debati gave out to YouTube racing. So you just do to racing. But then she has a lot.
And faith is without murkiness and clarifies the mind. It abandons pride and is the root of respect. Faith is a jewel, a treasure, and the best of feet. So the best of feet is like the feet of elephant that has a very strong and very powerful, and in dependence on it, able to carry heavy loads. So able to carry heavy loads. So that faith is likened to the best of feet. And like hands, then it's just like our hands, then we can gather many things if we want to gather things and then we put on the tables. So similarly, then like hands is the root of gathering virtue. Yeah. So the quotation from 10th Teaching Sutra is similar to that of formula of the three jewels place. So faith is the best of vehicles to which you will be guided and definitely emerge. Therefore, intelligent people rely on following faith. Wholesome qualities do not grow in people who have no faith. Just as green sprouts do not grow from seeds scorched by fire. Yeah. So all wholesome qualities follows after faith, or are companions of faith or follow after faith. So compendium of training stating having made firm the root of faith also teaches that faith is the root of all paths. And Protector Nagarjuna also emphasized the faith is the foundations of all paths. And Jiramachi's in Lamrim Chenmo, Great Expositions of the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment, also stated that the root of all happiness and goodness is the faith of conviction.
Tiorwa, Deba Siva, the Mondi Deba, Junse Kake Hamogaba, Lanza Deba Chichu, that Digia, Nutugur and Heto Mada. Roa, Nansupe, Lamaji, one now do is now, Junse Kake Mobile, Lanza, one Shichachi Deba, Chivaina, Kanta teach Jela, then we need to get Ninga de Kaki, no Matiba, that mission again, teach the Mandipa, that teach less than 10 on the Kalahachida, they want to show, teach Lahashida, dear Sarda. Then you are not able to then you know what you will. Tachi Majiba, Lanza, Chita Loa Chivan, Chita Shantravashi. And the Chivaina, then Digo Mamondi, but then Digo Mare. Junsi to the Deva Gurta.
And so it talks about how important it is and how precious it is to have this faith. However, this precious faith is something that we must we must know what kind of faith we develop. So faith here, it doesn't refer to blind faith. So it's not blind faith that we should generate. We must develop the faith, one of the virtuous mental factors. So we must develop faith. And faith here refers to faith that is found by valid cognitions, or faith that is found through reasoning. So we must develop such faith found through reasoning, or found by valid cognitions. So when we develop faith, we must develop the faith of the sharp faculties one, instead of developing faith developed by the dull faculties one. So what it means is when a sharp faculties one, when they act on reasoning. So if they find it is reasonable, then they will act on it. So if it's not reasonable, the sharp faculties one is not going to act on it. So we must develop faith on reasoning, just like the sharp faculties one. And then it's kind of normal, like for example, when we hear, oh, there is a Lama is coming to give initiations, then if we do not check, if we do not check or do not do any examinations, self-examinations, for example, and immediately rush and go and receive the initiations, then when we receive the initiation, and if we do not have any foundations, and if we do not understand at all the initiations, then it will result in being born in hell. So when we come to, also when we hear others saying, or Lama is coming, give initiations, then we must check and examine properly. So he talked about how important and how precious this faith is. Then we must not consider all types of faith precious and important, because they are besides the so-called good faith, and they are blind faith as well. And blind faith is not something that we should generate. It's not something that we should follow, the blind faith as well. So we must develop faith, having ascertained by the valid cognitions.
Thank you for sharing today.
So yeah, so I'll stop here, and sorry, no time for question and answers, so I'll just stop here.
먼저 이제 모아지야 돼. 그러다 기자 원들한테 지tembaje 받은 거와 되고 단답에 만투 배 강인 체진비지래서 되니 만투 강인 체진비지 봐 만투 대파 녀도 봐 도와다 다 만투의 내야디 진지 다 신지 체는 예체나 체과 통면서 디파가 반이 신지 공부 녀도 토쇼 디치다 다 내야다 만투 디 제비 진지 다 신지 mambo tipe dunga tsene giwa tani nyonga nyoshin ba rwa. Wata tani dunga nyonga nyoshin ba tsaba dunga tiga pa nyuda rwa. Nyuda rwa tani cheda pa geza nga chi rwa.
So we conclude with dedications. We dedicate the roots of virtue accumulated, especially through these Dharma discussions, may be the complete cause for the flourishing of the Dharma, and we also did it for the happiness of sentient beings as well. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue for the world peace. May the world be free of wars and conflicts, and may this pandemic be ceased immediately. So. And due to wars and conflicts and pandemic, there are many sentient beings passed away. So may their negativities accumulated since beginningless time be pacified immediately, and may they achieve the state of enlightenment as quickly as possible. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue for sentient beings who experience unimaginable sufferings due to wars, conflicts, and pandemic. May they quickly be freed from the sufferings. Sabege wadi tendang joa kunga kambe nang keba jitsu lo sang chaba yi tembe nyingbo rendo se je sho chanchu semcho rinpo che ma ke panang ki gyu chi keba nyamba me ba ya ne kondo be wa jo jambe ba wo chi da genpa dang kondo sambo de an de jin de da kunge che su da lo che ke wa di da dang che rap do mo tong yi da wa rinpo che ma ke panang ki gyu chi Kone kondo pewa jo ringi tawa rinpoche mage pana ki tuji keba nyamba me bayan kone kondo pewa jo tachin jangin kewe den zikyon pewe kunsu do boze kuwe leme tu jo ba taso tu je kundu jate jo kami nije sundu ju pe lang chi tse se se kanchen ten yu yun chana pe mo ten zing ka zo la ziwa tse du do jo kande pende ma nu ba kane jungwe sambe ishin no katen sume ten zing ka zo la teso Ave kowe shinkande pendande wa malu jungwe ni jire se wan tenzin gazo ye shape sije padu tengyu chi